Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yasodhanandana Vraja Janardana Yasodhanandana Vraja Janardana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kundavihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you Maharaj. Thank you very much for accepting our request to show your mercy upon our Caitanya Caritamrta study group. Maharaj, just please permit us to introduce you to our audience. Hare Krishna, welcome all the devotees for today's wonderful session. We are very fortunate to have His Holiness Bhakti Anugraha Janardana Maharaj with us. Maharaj is by body, by birth, he's taken his appearance in Philippines, and Maharaj was attracted to Krishna consciousness when he was 14 years old. That is very teenage, where children will be attracted to different kinds of sense gratification and are rather distracted to different kinds of sense gratification. Maharaj was attracted to Krishna consciousness and was very curious. Maharaj got attracted to Krishna consciousness through Srila Prabhupada's books, and that was just by hearing or by reading Srila Prabhupada's books. Maharaj was very much attracted to Krishna consciousness, and in the year 1980 or so, Maharaj bought his first book of Bhagavad Gita as it is, and in the year 1984 he got like introduced to like devotees in Toronto by Maharaj has joined a temple and he resided in the temple while he was working, and subsequently Maharaj left everything and joined the temple and served for full time for a very long time, and he has done a lot of services Vrindavan and many other places. And Maharaj visits almost 3 to 4 months in a year different parts of the world, and rest of the rest part of the year he resides in Vrindavan, takes care of many responsibilities. Um,
Yes.
Maharaj, I would not like to take more time, but we want to hear from you, uh, so that we our members get more mercy from you. And Maharaj, to give very brief background about our group. This Chaitanya Charitamrta study group started 2.5 years ago,
Okay.
with a very few devotees, and today it has grown to almost 80 to 90
Mm,
members.
mm,
Uh, though we see 30 to 35 connections, but many are like a wife and husband, family, are
mm, mm,
attending together.
mm, mm,
Um, so we have fortune of having many Maharajas and many great Vaishnavas gracing us their mercy to our members. They're coming to take the Chaitanya Charitamrita study class for
mm,
us.
mm.
And all the members of this group, they're mostly 99% are all initiated, and they're regular preachers. So
Hmm,
uh, this
good to
Maharaj,
know.
with this Maharaj, we humbly request you to please uh, grace your nectarian message about Lord Chaitanya Prabhu to our members. Thank you, Maharaj. Thanks for
Thank you so
accepting our
much.
request.
Thank you for giving me the privilege to speak. It's Srivas Thakur Prabhu, my fellow countryman who is staying in Qatar. I actually kind of like asked him, to have your association there. You're a very sincere devotee, so I'm very happy. Um, so what we're gonna do this evening is that we're going to read from the Caitanya Caritamrta. This is a continuation of your discussion from the past. There's so many devotees are being engaged in Harikatha, this hearing about the pastimes of the Supreme Lord. So I will start now. And if there is any question in the end, you may please do so, and we'll try to reply. Jai 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 Shri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda Jai Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jai Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Om Jnanantimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Juta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Sa Sirupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sadvadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Sha He Krishna Karuna Shindo Dinabando Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Shute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansakalpatarubhyascha Kipasindhubhya evacha Patitanang Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So this is text 102 from the Adilila chapter 7 of Caitanya Caritamrta. Eta shuni hashi prabhu bhalila vachana dukana manaha yadikari nivedana. Translation. After hearing the Mayavadi sannyasis speak in that way, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu smiled slightly and said, "My dear sirs, if you don't mind, I can say something to you regarding Vedanta philosophy." Purport. The Mayavadi sannyasis, appreciating Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, inquired from him why he did not discuss Vedanta philosophy. Actually, however, the entire system of Vaishnava activities is based on Vedanta philosophy. Vaishnavas do not neglect Vedanta, but they do not care to understand Vedanta on the basis of the Sariraka Vaishya commentary. Therefore, to clarify the situation, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, with the permission of the Mayavadi sannyasis, wanted to speak regarding Vedanta philosophy. So this episode happened. This is just right after the head of the Mayavad group of sannyasis, Prakashananda Saraswati, he was asking Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you are part of our sampradaya, huh? Sankaracharya. This because the Sarira Kavasya, this commentary of Sankaracharya regarding the Vedanta Sutra is very misleading. Actually, it will lead one. We are being warned. Prabhupada warned us not to read this commentary because if one is not strong philosophically, if one is not well versed on the conclusion of the Vedantas, which means Vedais Sarvair Aham Eva Vedya Vedanta Krit Vedabit Eva Chaham. By all the Vedas I am to be known. Actually, I'm the compiler. He's the origin. So if he is not well versed, if one is not very philosophically strong, he can be swayed and will become convinced to become a Mayavadi. So we're being warned not to touch this book, Sariraka Vashya commentary. And yes, Prakashananda Saraswati, he was just asking why are you dancing? Why are you chanting this mantra? Um, and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, the spiritual master, my spiritual master, consider me as a fool. Therefore, I'm not be able to understand this Vedanta, the conclusion of the Vedas. Therefore, he just asked me to chant, hear and chant the holy name of the Lord. And then he explains what are the results of this chanting Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And he cannot understand that whenever he chants the holy name of the Lord, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, he's starting to become like a madman, starting to cry and roll in the ground and all these things. So yes, these are the symptoms of one who is in love of God. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu now is explaining to the leaders of the Mayavad sannyasis to, if he doesn't mind, he will start saying something about the Vedanta philosophy. Veda means knowledge, and knowledge, Prabhupada says, the Vedas is like our mother. If you want to ask who is your father, then the best authority to us is your mother. You don't go out in the street and ask everybody, anybody whom you meet in the street, do you know my father? Have you seen my father? No, you would just go directly to the mother. That is knowledge, source of knowledge. And the Vedanta philosophy is very intricate. It's very deep because it deals especially with the truth, Veda Anta, the end of knowledge, which is Krishna. But then the Vedas give different personalities, different kinds of people, um, ways how they can be gradually develop their spiritual life. Usually starts with karma kanda, performing activities meant for fruitive gain, fruitive results. They want these results for further enjoying their material senses, the senses with the sense objects. So now Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will present what is Vedanta philosophy. The Vaishnavas are by far the greatest philosophers in the world. Yes, Vaishnavas. And the greatest among them was Srila Jiva Goswami Prabhu, whose philosophy was again presented less than 400 years later by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj. So we have great Vaishnava philosophers, exponents in the understanding the philosophy and presenting the philosophy. And Srila Jiva Goswami is the topmost. Prabhupada says he's the greatest amongst the Vaishnava philosophers because he wrote many, many books, especially the Sandarbhas, establishing the Supreme Lord is the ultimate supreme. He is the primeval. And in many ways, Srila Jiva Goswami made it so clear. And then later on, by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and others, also his father, also Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he also wrote many, many books about the Vaishnava philosophy. And even nowadays, we have many scholars in our movement who are representing ISKCON in academia, the scholars and even scientists. We have even Bhaktivedanta Institute program. So therefore, one must know very well that Vaishnava philosophers are not sentimentalists or cheap devotees like these sahajas. There is a substance for everything that we present. It's like Srila Prabhupada, before coming to America, he wanted to be equipped with some presentation to actually that means academicians or general class of people will accept that we're not just sentimentalist. We're not like uh, doing this cheaply. There is some content, there is some value, there is some importance. That's why Srila Prabhupada, he came with the first 3 volumes of the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And that is his magnum opus. That is his most cherished, most important contribution, um, especially in presenting the nature of the Supreme Absolute Truth. It's like Srimad Bhagavatam. This is the summum bonum. This is the literary incarnation of the Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna. In the age of Kali, Lord Krishna appears in the book form, incarnation, as Srimad Bhagavatam, because there is no difference between Lord Krishna and Srimad Bhagavatam. So therefore, Vaishnava philosophers, they're not cheap sentimentalists, as Prabhupada says, or cheap devotees like Sahajas. Their purpose is genuine to help the conditioned souls to get out of this material world. Just like here, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is he tricked the Mayavadis to become devotees, because all of them ultimately, all of these this Mayavadi sannyasis, they'll become Vaishnavas. They'll be turned into Vaishnavas by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And that is the main purpose of our books, Srila Prabhupada says. Main purpose why I wrote these books is to convince everyone to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And then when you chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, everything becomes auspicious. And ultimately, you'll attain love of God. So all the Vaishnavacharyas are like this. They're vastly. We have a lot of learned scholars. The six Goswamis, says here, all the Vaishnavacharyas were vastly learned scholars who understood Vedanta philosophy fully, for unless one knows Vedanta philosophy, he cannot be an Acharya. Acharya means one whose life, in his life, he set an example for others. And if they follow in his footsteps through his actions and words and activities, one will make advancement more and more in Krishna consciousness. That's why it's called Acharya. It's a teacher through their examples. So we have many learned scholars, acharyas. To be accepted as acharya among Indian transcendentalists who follow the Vedic principles, one must become a vastly learned scholar in Vedanta philosophy, either by studying or hearing it. Yes, guru. Um, they follow the Vedic principles and they teach others to follow the same by studying it or hearing it. This is how we learn, from hearing especially. So bhakti develops in pursuance of Vedanta philosophy. This is stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, Text 12. Tatra dadanana munayo jnana vairagya yuktaya pashanti atmani chatmanam bhaktya sutta grihitaya. The words bhaktya sruta grihitaya in this verse are very important, for they indicate that bhakti must be based upon the philosophy of the Upanishads and Vedanta Sutra. Srila Rupa Goswami says, Sruti Smriti Puranadi Pancharatra Vidhindina Aikantiki Harir Bhaktir Upattayaiva Kalpate. Devotional service performed without reference to the Vedas, Puranas, Pancharatras, etc. must be considered sentimentalism, and it causes nothing but disturbance to society. There are different grades of Vaishnav, Kanishta Adhikari, Madhyam Adhikari, and Uddama Adhikari. But to be a Madhyam Adhikari preacher, one must be learned scholar in the Vedanta Sutra and other Vedic literatures, because when Bhakti Yoga develops on the basis of Vedanta philosophy, it is factual and steady. In this connection, we may quote the translation and purport of the verse mentioned above, Bhagavatam 1, 2, and 12. Translation. The seriously inquisitive student or sage, well equipped with knowledge and detachment, realizes that absolute truth is by rendering devotional service in terms of what he has heard from the Vedanta Shruti purport. The absolute truth is realized in full by the process of devotional service to the Lord Vasudev, or the personality of Godhead, who is in full pledged absolute truth. Brahman is his transcendental bodily effulgence, and Paramatma is his partial representation. As such, Brahman or Paramatma realization of the absolute truth is but a partial realization. There are four different types of human beings: the karmis, the jnanis, the yogis, and the devotees. The karmis are materialistic, whereas the other three are transcendental. The first class transcendentalists are the devotees who have realized the Supreme Person. The second class transcendentalists are those who have partially realized the plenary portion of the Absolute Person. And the third class transcendentalists are those who have barely realized the spiritual focus of the Absolute Person. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita and other Vedic literatures, the Supreme Person is realized by devotional service, which is backed by full knowledge and detachment from material association. We have already discussed the point that devotional service is followed by knowledge and detachment from material association. As Brahman and Paramatma, that is, the paths of Gyan and Yoga, are also imperfect means of realizing the absolute truth. Devotional service, which is based on the foreground of full knowledge combined with detachment from material association, and which is fixed by dint of the oral reception of the Vedanta Shruti, is the only perfect method by which the seriously inquisitive student can realize the absolute truth. Devotional service is not therefore meant for the less intelligent class of transcendentalists. Hare Krishna. This is a translation and a purport within the translation and the purport. Srila Prabhupada just repeated this from the first canto. That ultimately the goal is bhakti or devotional service, attaining the Supreme Lord's mercy. And this can be done, especially, says here, by devotional service. Nothing else. Huh? What's that? That is only bhaktyamam abhijanati yavanjas chaskasmi tatpataha. That is only by devotional service I can be understood. So the need for us to understand the Supreme Lord come about, especially when we practice devotional service, and starts with hearing and chanting. Um, that's the and also if one takes to the process of understanding the Supreme Lord, one needs a teacher, one needs a guide, one needs a person who will be able to dispel any doubts and be able to give knowledge about the absolute truth, supreme absolute truth, which will ultimately result that the devotee becomes detached from material association and attaining full knowledge. Um, this is bhakti. There is an application of the knowledge that's been received, and that application of the knowledge will ultimately yield that the devotee, the Vaishnava, will become materially detached. His association with the material energy of the Supreme Lord will be ultimately cut off. says that's why it says knowledge will burn the sinful activities to the root. It dispels ignorance, which is the cause of our sufferings in this material world. So, yes, the absolute truth is realized in three aspects: Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. So, Brahman, effulgence of the Supreme Lord, this is the goal of the impersonalist, those who somehow they reach a certain level of understanding the Supreme Lord that their main goal is only to merge in his Brahman effulgence, Brahma Jyoti. Um, but then Prabhupada says they come down again. He's not first class transcendentalist. Um, that's the Gyani's goal. Mental speculators who they're not able to reach the conclusion of the Vedanta that Krishna is all in all, Vasudeva, Sarvamiti. And then the Paramatma Vadis, that means those who are main goals are the realization of Paramatma within the heart. The yogis, they do that. Um, those whose main focus of their meditation is always the lotus feet of the Paramatma, the yogis. And then there's the bhaktas again. Uh, Bhaktas. They're the ones who understand the complete whole comprises of ultimately the highest is the Bhagavan feature, the personal aspect, worship, having relationship, because bhakti means relationship, ras, mellow, the interchanges between the Supreme Lord and his bhakta, his devotees. So devotional is not therefore meant for the less intelligent class of transcendentalists. It's just that after many, many births, I was listening to Prabhupada class the other day that this verse in Bhagavad Gita, Bahunam Janmanam Ante Gyanavan Prapadyante, uh, that it takes many, many births before one comes to the conclusion of Vasudeva is all in all. But our movement, the Hare Krishna movement, gives the facility that instead of many, many births, one can conclude just by engaging in the Sankirtan process of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It can be done even in one lifetime. This chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, which is the Yuga Dharma, and also included with Vaishnav Seva. Hmm? Um, Therefore, one can continuously chant the holy name of the Lord, not also committing any offenses, especially to Vaishnavas. So there are three classes of devotees, namely first, second, and third class. The third class devotees, or the neophytes, who have no knowledge and are not detached from material association, but who are simply attracted by the preliminary process of worshiping the deity in the temple, are called material devotees. So, yes, this materialistic. Prakrita, Prakrita Bhakta. Um, Neophyte means the material desires is still their goal. They may be practicing Krishna consciousness, but that is just a means whereby they use in order to fulfill their material desires. It's like not everyone who approaches Supreme Lord is very rare that one doesn't have material desires. Even Dhruva Maharaj, he has that desire to have a kingdom better than his father. But then he attained pure bhakti by having glance of the Supreme Lord and yes, smell the tulsi. Chandan, seeing the effulgent, beautiful form, the Supreme Lord, and he's captivated. So, but not everyone is in that level. Most of the third class devotee, neophyte devotee, they are still so much covered up that even their material desires becomes fulfilled. They want more and more and more. So the only way how you can get out of being a materialistic devotee is to associate those devotees who are far more advanced than you are. Like as Prabhupada says, don't remain in the neophyte platform. Don't remain as we have to grow up. At least come to the medium platform. Um, because the neophyte devotees, the materialistic devotees, they're only attached to material benefit and transcendental profit. Prabhupada says also that my students, they just want to go to the heavenly planets because in the heavenly planets, they're far more, the sense enjoyment exceeds far more than the earthly planets where we are. The senses are being engaged more in a higher level of pleasure. Um, but ultimately, that pleasure has an end, and one has to come back again in this earthly planet. So, yes, therefore, one has to make a definite progress from the position of material devotional service to the second class devotional position. Um, we should endeavor, try as much as possible to get out of these being a neophyte devotee or third class or materialistic devotee, as Prabhupada mentions here. Um, and we need help, of course. That's why guidance is there. Try to be as much as possible honest with ourselves. And if we have a friend devotee, we can ask that devotee how we are faring, how we're doing. If he sees. But actually, sometimes we can tell also if we are making advancement or not. But it's very difficult. Others can see us more than ourselves, our conditioning, especially how we can improve, how we can make things in such a way that whatever we're doing will constitute that we will make progress all the time to get out of the neophyte stage, to get out of the um, modes of material nature. Because at least one has to be in a mode of goodness. And second platform, one can be in a mode of goodness. That Madhyam, second class platform. Um, Therefore, one has to make a definite progress from the position of material devotional service to the second class devotional position. In the second class position, the devotee can see four principles in the devotional line, namely the personality of Godhead, his devotees, the ignorant, and the envious. One has to raise himself at least to the stage of a second class devotee, thus become eligible to know the absolute truth. Yes, this is a main difference in the neophyte state, the materialistic devotee. He only sees Krishna and himself. He doesn't see anybody around. He noticed, but he doesn't. It's like for him, it's no need to put so much attention. It's only to the Supreme Lord and myself. Uh, that devotee will ask many, many favors from the Supreme Lord. And by fulfilling those desires, sometimes he fulfills, Krishna fulfills, sometimes he does not fulfill. If he knows that the devotee will be able to handle whatever material desires is asking, and also he's qualified, and he'll make progress as well, because he will also realize the attachment must be given up. A third class, hmm, a third class devotee therefore has to receive the instructions of devotional service from the authoritative sources of Bhagavad. Yes, this is one of the, there are 64 limbs in devotional service. Five are the main ones, which involves the spiritual master, taking shelter of him, and ultimately, yeah, taking initiation, surrendering unto a bona fide representative of the Supreme Lord. Without surrender to the bona fide representative of the Supreme Lord, then one cannot go back home, back to Godhead. And the Caitanya Caritamrta also is mentioned that there are three kinds of gurus. The Bhartma Pradakshina Guru, the one who introduces you in Krishna consciousness, the one who, let's say, gives you a book or asks you to come to a program, um, Hare Krishna program. Anybody whom you met and he introduced you to Krishna consciousness, maybe they're here or they're not around, but around means they got somehow diverted, but they will come back again because Krishna never forgets his devotee. So yes, then the Diksha Guru, one who gives you a formal initiation, whereby at the time of initiation there is an agreement between the spiritual master and the disciple, that disciple follow the regulative principles of, which is no meat eating, no intoxication, no gambling, no illicit sex, and to chant 16 rounds minimum every day without any offenses. And then there is a Siksha Guru. Now, the Siksha Guru, very, very important in one's spiritual life, because it says that usually the Siksha Guru becomes a Diksha Guru, but not all the time. And the Diksha Guru is not around all the time also. But the Siksha Gurus can be within reach. So, as Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, the Siksha Gurus, they're more important than the Diksha Guru. So the number one Bhagavat is the established personality of devotee, and the other Bhagavat is the message of Godhead, book Bhagavat, and the person Bhagavat. The third class devotee therefore has to go to the personality of devotee in order to learn the instructions of devotional service. Such a personality of devotee is not a professional man who earns his livelihood by the business of the Bhagavatam. Such a devotee must be a representative of Shukadev Goswami, like Sutta Goswami, and must preach the cult of devotional service for the all-around benefit of all people. A neophyte devotee has very little taste for hearing from authorities. Such a neophyte devotee makes a show of hearing from the professional man to satisfy his senses. This sort of hearing and chanting has spoiled the whole thing. So one should be very careful about the faulty process. The holy messages of Godhead, as inculcated in the Bhagavad Gita or in the Srimad Bhagavatam, are undoubtedly transcendental subjects. But even though they are so, such transcendental matters are not to be received from the professional man who spoils them as a serpent spoils milk simply by the touch of his tongue. So, just in short, there are many charlatans, there are many bogus um, so-called representatives of the to speak on the Shrimad Bhagavatam. One has to become a pure devotee in order to to receive the highest benefit from them. That when they speak, It penetrates to the heart, that the heart becomes free from these anarthas, it becomes cleansed, because this is sound vibration is so purifying, especially those who have faith and realized that there is no difference between the Lord and this and his name, because he's absolute, his name, fame, form, qualities, and pastimes. So the book Bhagavat, if it's explained by the person Bhagavat, pure representative of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Krishna himself, will reap the highest benefit, which ultimately culminates in love of God. But those, there are many, not many, oh well, yes, many, not some. There are many who are doing this as a livelihood for others. It becomes like means of livelihood to recite Bhagavat because, yeah, one will get so much dakshina, so much charity. So for profit, they do it. They do it for money, for adoration, profit. Um, so this is not going to give the listener what is expected. That if one hears directly from a pure devotee. On the other hand, it says here, it spoils. Actually, instead of decreasing the material attachments, uh, one increases the material attachments. Hearing this, it becomes like poisonous. It's tainted. If the desire of the reciter, it doesn't have any desire, only to please the Supreme Lord and the Vaishnavas, then it has so much effect, unlimited result. But if it's done by a professional man, non-devotees, then Prabhupada says it's like milk touched by lips of a serpent. It becomes poisonous. It looks milk, but then when you drink it, you die. It's not like when we hear from pure devotees, it's amritam. It gives life, eternal life. That is a difference. A sincere devotee must therefore be prepared to hear the Vedic literature like the Upanishads, Vedanta Sutra, and other literatures left by the previous authorities or Goswamis for the benefit of his progress. Without hearing such literatures, one cannot make actual progress. And without hearing and following the instructions, the show of devotional service becomes worthless and therefore a sort of disturbance in the path of devotional service. Unless, therefore, devotional service is established on the principles of Shruti, Smriti, Purana, and Pancharatra authorities, the make show of devotional service should at once be rejected. An unauthorized devotee should never be recognized as a pure devotee. By assimilation of such messages from the Vedic literatures, one can see the all-pervading localized aspect of the personality of Godhead within his own self constantly. This is called samadhi. So this is our goal, samadhi, where we constantly always remembering Krishna and not forgetting him, realizing him, seeing him face to face, and be able to serve him directly. One may be physically in samadhi, one's physical form is here, but his consciousness could be somewhere else with Krishna, of course. That's Krishna consciousness. Samadhi. Prabhupada says, work now, samadhi later. That means more austerities we have to perform, more sacrifices, more purification. Then one day we'll be able to attain this samadhi. This is the last stage where you connect with Krishna 100%, and eternally. Um, so yes, well, first we deserve, then we desire. If it's our desire to attain this, and we deserve, will become qualified, then we will attain this. But we have to follow the teachings from the Vedas, the Puranas. Everything has been established by Shruti, Smriti, Purana, Pancharatra. All of these things, if we follow the instructions, apply it to ourselves, then hope against hope, one day we will attain this um, eternally. This, what you call samadhi, constantly understanding, constantly remembering the Supreme Lord and His instructions. Okay, we stop here. If there's any questions or comments,
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you very much for your wonderful session. We do have a few questions.
okay,
We request His Grace Varnapati Govinda Prabhu to moderate the questions session. Vanavadh Govind Prabhu is our one of the regular members attending from UK. The family
okay,
attends very religiously every day, every week. Prabhu and Mataji, they attend the session without break. Last many months, I saw Prabhu has not skipped even one session. Vanapati Govind Prabhu, can you please moderate this part of the session?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranams. Sure Prabhuji, thank you. Hare Krishna Maharajji, Dandavat Pranams. Thank you so much. Nice lecture. And I'm looking. Prabhuji, I think your video is spotlighted at the moment.
I don't know why. Now it's okay.
Yes, we can see it's on a speaker view now. Thank you so much, Maharajji. Maharajji, we have some questions in the chat and read it for you. So the very first question is that how can one develop a taste for studying Srila Prabhupada's books to a level that is fixed and sustainable?
Okay, first of all, Prabhupada, we have to follow the instructions of the acharyas, of our founder Acharya. He says that we should, along with chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, one should also read his books. Bhagavad Gita, Shrimad Bhagavatam. And Lord Krishna himself, he says that whoever discusses topics regarding him, it makes him happy. So we have to have a purpose why we want to read, why we're doing what we're doing. So the purpose actually is to gain knowledge, to purify myself, to gain knowledge so that I can also would like to explain it to others. After assimilating this knowledge, I want to also give this knowledge so that that will give the opportunity to the listeners about Krishna consciousness. We can increase our desire by having a group session where everyone is involved in reading. Give everyone chance to read, like say 5 minutes each or something. And also it will be nice if we explain to others what we're reading. This is the more, you see, you learn more when you tell others about the knowledge. It becomes becomes ingrained in your system. You'll remember these things. The more you tell others, the more you remember, and the more you remember, then that makes you more Krishna conscious, right? So you have to set aside a time every day. Set aside a time when you will read, and it becomes part of your life, daily life. Says that if you do one thing for 21 days, you'll become attached to it. You just want to keep doing it again and again and again. Okay?
Haribo. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. So as it says, teaching and preaching is the way not only to spread Krishna consciousness, but also to increase our own Krishna consciousness.
Yeah, if you cannot do it like even outside of your family, you do it within your family. Have
Haribo.
your sangha
Yes. Yes.
within, like what's that? Family that prays together,
Stays together.
stays together. So the family, they should have some time also, because I know in some other countries, especially in Saudi Arabian countries or Middle Eastern countries, they cannot talk about this outside
Right.
outside of like the group where you are. So at least within your group, you have this uh, continuously, and also within your family members.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you, Maharaji. Maharaji, the next question is that some say that we can go back to spiritual world by end of this life by sincere chanting and following instructions of spiritual master.
Mm.
But some say that the first we need to take birth again in other universe to participate in the
Yeah.
leelas of the Lord.
Listen, there's no difference when you go out of this body and you perfected. It doesn't matter where you're in the spiritual world or you're in the material world. If you're with Krishna, that is a spiritual world. So yes, you will take birth in a different universe. It's like practice, a
Okay.
little bit more practice with your service. And yes, you go back home.
Haribo.
But anyone who dies in the holy dham, they go back home, back to Godhead also. And if one is sinful in the holy dham, then he'll take birth as a lower species, animal life. And that will be the last life also for that uh, jiva. So everyone goes back home in the spiritual world if you leave your body in the holy dham.
Haribo. So even if you are pure devotee, you will first take part in the leelas and then you will go back to
The pure
Krishna.
devotee, he's always in the lila.
Haribo.
It doesn't. The body may change, but the activities continues. That is most important. The karma, that means
Yeah.
the activities, than birth. Devotees doesn't die.
Mhm.
They live forever. It doesn't matter where they are, because their service activities to please the Lord is always there. Doesn't stop. So it's just a change of body.
Very nice. Thank you, Maharaj. So
Hare
the
Krishna.
next question is, how many times scriptures are not revealing? Many times scriptures are not revealing the message clearly, but we get clarity from spiritual master and other acharyas. Some devotees ask us to show the references from scriptures, even though we have clear explanation from acharyas. How to convince them that what bona fide acharyas have said it, that's not different from the shastras.
You see, we should just not repeating. What is more important is acting. If the person who speaks according to his actions, it says actions is louder than what speaks louder than words. So yes, uh, actually the scriptures is very clear, but there are deeper meanings that we don't know to make it more clear. It's not the Bhagavad Gita is so clear, but the inner meanings, the deeper meanings of the slokas has been realized by the acharyas. So they explain their explanations. They see more than we can see. Let's see like that. Let's say like that. They're like visions that they have, realized knowledge. So it is applied to the verse. And then Prabhupada also will get all of those, he collects all of those commentaries of the acharyas, and then he put them in, consolidate them, and then he gives his own realization of the subject. So yes, we need to have faith into this. We need to have faith that the knowledge that we receive uh, from Srila Prabhupada and the acharyas are authentic, and we realize them also. It just makes sense what they're saying. Um, Others, they can quote, they can give the evidence where it came from with Shastra and all these things, which is good. Prabhupada says we should be like lawyers, expert lawyer. They can quote um, previous cases. If there's a trial, and he'll be able to give evidence, which is good, which is good. Yes, Prabhupada says we should know Bhagavad Gita inside and out. We should be able to tell to others. So that's fine. Uh, Definitely, though, if we don't hear direct praman, where it's coming from, but it depends on the speaker. The speaker is living a pure life. More likely, this is bona fide. Unlike others may quote many verses, different Upanishads, Puranas, Samhitas, but then if you look at their lifestyle, it's questionable. So which is better? Simple devotee who can explain Bhagavad Gita in a very clear, distinct description, explanation, than those who quote so many verses, scholarly, but then they don't follow any regulative principles.
Very well. Thank you, Maharaj. That was indeed very practical. That if we are living example, then even if we don't refer anything, others could just see us and get inspired and hopefully follow us in Krishna consciousness. Very
Sure.
practical. Thank you, Maharaj. Next question is from Grahastha perspective. So, being in Grahastha ashram, souls tend to have more distractions than in Brahmacharya. If all that is correct, how can we practice detachment qualities just like brahmacharis, obeying our duties in grahastha?
One should always see that Krishna is the supreme proprietor of everything. He is Bhoktaram Yagyatapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. He is the supreme master. And if we see that we are his servants, our main duty as grihastas is to have Krishna as the center of our life, not to forget that by offering everything to Krishna first, because Krishna is the proprietor, understanding that I don't deserve anything, but Krishna provides me all of these facilities. So let me use this for Krishna's facilities, not for my sense enjoyment. If that is the mentality, that is the consciousness, then one will be detached. He doesn't think that this is my property. Everything is Krishna's. Let me use it for Krishna's service. That is detachment. Okay.
Haribol. Thank you so much, Maharaji. Yes, yeah. Many examples like King Janak are given in Bhagavad Gita as well. Thank you so much. Maharaji, if you have time, we have two more questions.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much. So the next question, Maharaji, is that who is a bona fide spiritual master? That's a part of the question. And the second part is that after initiation, if disciple leaves such a master, spiritual master, what will be the destiny of that disciple who will leave spiritual master?
So you have two. Who is a bona fide spiritual master?
Yes.
Bona fide spiritual master must be coming from bona fide disciplic succession. Four of them: Brahma Sampradaya, Rudra Sampradaya, Sri Sampradaya, and Kumara Sampradaya. We belong to Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. The bona fide spiritual master is always engaged 24 hours a day in Krishna consciousness. He never deviates for a second. He is free from the modes of material nature. He is transcendental. No more have to do with the material energy. He is completely 100% representative of the Supreme Lord. He's always remembering Krishna, never forgetting Krishna. He knows the conclusion of the Vedas. This is a bona fide spiritual master. It's not hereditary. Uh, so, yes. Then what happens if one leaves? If one lives, I don't know why. Why will one live? What is the main reason? There should be some because it depends on the reason why that person left. Then the reaction is different also. It's not like one general question if one leaves and then what will happen to that person. Do you understand?
Haribo. Yes. Yes, Maharaji.
I
As
mean,
Yeah, I think it's very, very clear. And like what Ramanand Kanai Prabhuji was saying, that most of the members in this group, they are initiated. So I think we all understand the importance and the significance of bona fide spiritual master. That it's such a blessing that once you got the spiritual master, then nobody will think to leave. And if there is any specific reason, then it has to be a specific.
yeah, then I will reply accordingly. I don't want to assume that the person left because of this. No,
Yes.
the question is not complete.
True. Yes. So last question, Maharaji. It's on what we said as a part of the lecture earlier on, that we have Brahman, Paramatma, and then Supreme Personality of Godhead. So
Yes.
being devotees,
So,
transcendental in nature. So if we are part of bona fide sampradaya now. So while
mhm.
chanting, purifying ourselves, devotees being transcendental, they reach straight to Supreme Personality of Godhead, or will they realize Brahman and Paramatma as well before
Who?
devotees? So
No,
Mayavad,
you listen.
yes.
Okay, the devotees they don't. It's automatically you realize you've reached
Right.
that part already. You've gone to the other aspects, understanding the Supreme Lord, and now you are a devotee. That is like the
Mhm.
final stage.
Yes.
Automatically, you're worshiping the Supreme Lord in His Paramatma feature, and you understand that His impersonal aspect.
I- Is it something which happens in one go, or is it
No?
again the gradual process, like somebody?
Why listen? Why spend some time in this? Whether you already rich. You want to find out like in 2 minutes and 3 minutes you became a Paramatma body or Brahma body, or can we put a certain time? This is what this is like it's good to know, but it's irrelevant
Okay.
because now you're already worshiping the Lord. So why don't you just, instead of thinking about this, why don't you ask, how can I increase my service to the Lord?
Hmm.
I mean, but it says that, we were all in this journey, and
Yes.
somehow now you're trying. We're not even devotees. We're just trying to become devotees. Many of us are still mental speculators.
Sure.
Many of us are still materialistic.
Yes.
Okay, so I mean, it's okay to ask this kind of question, but it's like in one lifetime. It doesn't matter. Even million lifetimes, we become a devotee after understanding this. The main thing now is we are in this level. So try to get out of this neophyte mentality, this materialistic devotee, because one can practice Krishna consciousness millions and millions of lifetimes and he doesn't get any advancement.
Hmm.
So what will that has to do with where will when did I become like um, meditating in the Paramatma, or
Right.
do you understand?
Yes. Yes. Thank you, Maharaj. And really very practical answers and implications. Mainly when you said that a pure devotee is always in Leela. So you don't really have to wait to go somewhere. You are already here
Yeah,
and you could
yeah.
realize Krishna.
Prabhupada, when he was here, this is part of his lila with us.
Yes.
We're I mean, it's a rare opportunity to witness and to have association of pure devotees.
Hmm.
But we never heard. I mean, if we never heard of Prabhupada, who is like the binding force in our movement, we will not be here. So, but one can be like Srila Prabhupada. This is the nature of the soul. One can be a pure devotee of the Supreme Lord, and it could be in this lifetime also. It depends on what is our priority. Okay.
Haribo. Thank you so much, Maharajji, for bearing with us and answering all our questions. Thank you so much. Such a
Thank you.
blessing to be in your association. I will hand over back to Ramanan Kanai Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Maharajji. Then
Thank you.
Haribo.
Thank you very much, Maharaj.
Thank you,
Thank you
sir.
very much for wonderful session, and your answers are very practical, very deep and practical. Definitely, we need to have more sessions with you. With your permission, in
Sure.
future, we'll approach your lotus feet to have
Krishna
more
willing,
mercy from you.
we'll meet again. And
Thank you very
maybe
much, Maharaj.
when the
It's a
pandemic is gone, I can go visit you in Amman or Oman.
Haribol, please
Okay.
welcome Maharaj. Welcome Maharaj. We'll be very
Yeah.
fortunate to have you with us. So I'd like to
Thank
thank
you.
our friend Srivas Thakur Prabhu also to for taking us to your lotus feet. Srivas Thakur Prabhu, can you just be on video
Say
for a
one.
minute to
Yes.
thank
Haribol,
Maharaj?
I want to see him. Whoa. Haribo.
Haribol Maharaj, thank you very much for gracing us on this occasion.
Very happy
It's
myself.
a pleasure to see you again. I'm very sorry that it is quite inconvenient from your side because it's already late at night.
No, no,
But thank
no.
you very much.
That will give me
It's
a net.
almost 10:30 now, 10:30 p.m. in Canada.
No problem. 10:20. Thank you so much. Okay. And take care, everyone. I don't know how's the COVID situation there, but careful, especially going out.
Thank
Hare
you, Maharaj.
Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Thank
Thank
Dandavat
you,
you.
Maharaj.
Pranam.
Thank you
Haribol.
very much,
Haribol.
Haribol.